It seems wherever we look nowadays, there's always a clickbait headline trying to grab our attention. Have you seen them? The ones that are claiming to instantly and magically fix a long-term problem that we could be facing in life. Take this magic pill and lose 30 pounds of body fat in 1 week. Look instantly younger and sexier with this magic cream. Make $100,000 in 1 month with this magic investment. They seem to be everywhere, but have you noticed the buzzword here? Magic. Now, personally for me, I don't want to count on magic in order to become successful. I mean, how many successful people have you heard saying, I magically became successful? Well, for me it's zero, unless they're an actual magician. The truth is, we've been lied to about success, and it's time someone told you straight, without all the fluff. For the most part, there is no quick solution to long-term problems. A lot of the companies claiming this kind of thing just want you to part with your hard-earned money. Success doesn't come in a sexy-looking box. In fact, success is very unsexy. The Compound Effect was written by Darren Hardy in 2010, and it is a book I found myself coming back to quite a few times over the years. It is short, insightful, and packs a lot of useful gems which I will share with you in this video. The book explains that there's no such thing as a magic pill or an overnight success. In fact, the compound effect works quite the opposite way. So let's dive right in. Alright, so since we're on the topic of magic, let's start with an idea from the book called The Magic Penny. For those who haven't heard this story, suppose you and your friend had stumbled across a special genie one day. The genie is bearing 2 gifts. One gift is $3 million. The other is a magic penny that doubles every day for 31 days. You can pick one, and your friend can pick one, but you both can't pick the same thing. Your friend immediately jumps in and thinks it's an easy win. They take the $3 million. They left you with a single penny that doubles every day for 1 month. The special genie grants the gifts and vanishes forever. The clock starts ticking. 5 days later, your multi-millionaire friend is flaunting their newly acquired wealth. And maybe you feel like a fool because your magic penny is only sitting at 16 cents. Well, what about day 10? It's still much of the same, with your penny only sitting at $5.12. This isn't good. But let's double that time and take a look at day 20. Well, your fortune, or lack of it, still pales in comparison to the $3 million, even at day 20, as you're sitting at $5,242.88. We're a long way off. Or are we? Well, this is where things get interesting. Over just 5 more days, your penny continues to double in value every day. And at day 25, your small fortune is beginning to shape up, with a little over $5,000 now sitting at a little over $167,000. But there's only a few days left of the month, so let's see how your penny performs. Here is an outline of the next 6 days. While your friend thought they made the right decision, your magic penny slowly crept up, and on day 31, your measly penny has now amassed a grand value of nearly $11 million, well over 3 times as much as your friend's $3 million. By this time, your friend now realises their mistake, and they're gravely embarrassed about it, and they're nowhere to be seen. The 8th wonder of the world is compound interest. Who understands it earns it, who doesn't pays it. Okay, maybe I was a bit harsh on the concept of magic before, because the force at play right here is what a lot of people refer to as the magic of compounding. Except, like what you see in those gimmicky headlines, the magic here is real. Compounding is real, and its force can be equally as powerful in any aspect of your life. In fact, whether you're studying, relaxing, eating, sleeping, feeding the dog, whatever it is, the compound effect is at play. So, now that we have a solid grasp on compounding, let's explore some real life examples to see how compounding can really affect our lives. Meet Scott, Brad and Larry. These chaps are 3 friends who live in the same neighbourhood. They're all married, generally healthy, and each making around $50,000 a year. To you or me, these guys' lives wouldn't appear any different from one another. One day, Scott decides to cut 125 calories from his diet every day by substituting his favourite soda at lunchtime for a glass of water instead. He also decides to listen to some inspirational audiobooks on his daily commute to work at a warehouse, instead of tuning into the radio. Although these are small and seemingly insignificant changes, Scott is determined to stick with them. On the other hand, Brad wants a more comfortable lifestyle. After all, if work doesn't need to be put in, then why would he need to do it? So Brad goes ahead and installs a bar in his garage and adds an alcoholic drink every Friday to his diet. He purchases a large TV to accompany the bar, where he often sits and watches his favourite cooking programs. He begins testing out the recipes he sees on the TV in his own kitchen, cooking cheesy casseroles and crafting sweet and sexy desserts. Finally, we see Larry. Although he is generally bitter about having what he considers to be a mundane life with no exciting changes, he decides to play things safe and remain the same. He does not make any changes to his lifestyle whatsoever. Fast forward 5 months and the three are still going through life taking the same daily actions. Scott is learning more and more through his self-development books. Brad is looking forward to his Friday cocktail and cherry trifle, and Larry is drifting by on autopilot. There are no noticeable changes among the three friends. They still pretty much look exactly the same. After all, 5 months isn't enough time for any of them to appear any different in their lives. In fact, the same applies 10, 12, even 15 months later. No real noticeable stuff. Only when month 18 arrives, a year and a half later, will we start to see any noticeable differences. And I'm talking tiny. Scott is slightly taller than Brad because he's been opting to take the stairs at his warehouse job instead of using the elevator. It's a tip which he learned to put into effect from the audiobooks. And Larry, well, remains his usual self. Larry remains Larry. Fast forward to month 31, a little over 2.5 years since these small changes were put into action, and the results are shocking. Scott has lost 33 pounds in total from cutting out the 125 calories in the daily soda he drank before. He has also put over 1,000 hours of new knowledge he had learned into practice at work and at home, and had managed to earn a promotion and a raise as a result of his positive actions. But most of all, Scott's marriage is thriving. Brad has gained 33 pounds in total from consuming 125 calories more per day, so that means he's also now a whopping 66 pounds heavier than Scott. As a result, he becomes unhappy and begins to withdraw from the people around him. His relationship with his wife begins to dwindle due to his negative mood and lack of positive change. His marriage begins to fall apart. He does not know how to examine himself and improve his life because he's not read any self-development material like Scott has. Larry is exactly where he was 31 months ago, though he's much more bitter about it. Now, looking back on these changes, they were small, perhaps even unsexy, yet over time, the compound effect began to show itself, and the differences between the three were as clear as day, and the differences between Scott and Larry were astounding. But while the results were massive, the steps taken often looked insignificant. They offered little to no immediate results, and it's only when they exercised these steps over a long period of time that the results really started to shine. Small, smart choices plus consistency plus time equals a radical difference. Or as Aristotle once put it, we are what we repeatedly do. Okay, so how do we make the compound effect work as best as we possibly can? Well, in the book, Darren Hardy goes over 5 areas that we can identify and change in our favour to achieve this. 1. Choices. It's estimated that the average adult makes more than 35,000 decisions per day. A massive amount of these are completely unconscious, often influenced by family, expectations, lifestyle, culture, belief systems, the list goes on. The choices we make can be our best friend or our worst enemy. I mean, just look around you right now. Everything you can see around you is a result of the choices that you have made, positive and negative. You make your choices, and then your choices make you. Try to be more aware of the choices that you make. Grabbing an unhealthy snack? Think again, replace it with something healthy. About to make an impulse purchase online? Think again, put it on hold for 24 hours and see if you still want it the next day. Not subscribing to this channel? Think again, you might learn a lot from the future videos, you get the point. Make the type of choices to propel you a little further. Improve your relationships by saying I love you to the people that you care about the most. Make that business call you've been dreading to make. Walk that extra half mile. Swap sugar for sweetener. Replace that 10-minute entertaining video with a 10-minute self-development video. And I promise you, by doing that over time, you will see positive results. 2. Habits. With enough practice and repetition, habits become automatic over time. The things you do now on autopilot are the habits that you formed and solidified over the years to a point where they just get done without much focus or attention. Most people let their habits form unconsciously. These habits can then go on to dictate choices and can even hinder the possibilities and opportunities in someone's life, all while growing stronger and becoming more difficult to change. Slowly begin to identify good habits that will aid you towards your goals and nurture them on a daily basis, one at a time. Determine a clear and concise reason for your desired habits and slowly introduce them into your life. If you want to remove bad habits, identify your triggers. What makes you perform these bad habits? Then go on to try to eliminate those triggers from your environment. For example, if you drink beer and you want to quit drinking on weekdays, move the beer from your fridge to your cupboard. You'll find it a lot easier to stick to it because who wants warm beer? But be patient, you have spent years repeating bad habits. It's going to take a long time to replace them with good ones, so stick at it. 3. Momentum. For anything to gain momentum, it needs an initial push. When I wanted to start going to the gym, the hardest part for me was the beginning, making up my gym bag before bed, changing my diet and eating more protein, making that initial push out of my comfort zone and placing myself into a new environment. But much like a spinning wheel, once you make that initial push, things can keep going a lot easier without the need to keep pushing. Start small and ease yourself into your new lifestyle gradually. If you want to be more active, walk 10 minutes a day for the first day. If you want to read more, start with a couple of pages in the evening. I've seen people go from being completely inactive to trying to run 10 miles and completely burning out, or people who want to begin reading self-development books, buying 50 books in one purchase and leaving most of them unread. You don't want to burn out here. You will know when momentum is taking place because things will no longer feel difficult to start. In fact, it will begin to feel strange not to do a particular thing that's become a regular part of your day. Momentum is the way your current flows. Momentum is your sail in the wind. 4. Influences. In an age of the internet and information overload, influence is more important than ever. Scientists have measured the amount of data that enters the brain and found that an average person living today processes as much as 74 gigabytes of information per day. To put that into perspective, only 500 years ago, 74 gigabytes of information would be what a highly educated person consumed in their entire lifetime. Take a moment to reflect on what information you're absorbing. What are you inputting into your brain? When I did this, I realised that I was absorbing tons of information through the news via newspapers, TV and radio. I was doing this every morning, and looking back on things, I've got to say that every 100 news stories I come across, 99 of them were negative, and they would lower my mood. Safe to say, I no longer watch the news and I feel much better for it. Protect and safeguard your personal bubble. Be mindful of negative energy and influences, whether it's from places like the news, or it's from movies, internet, or even your friends and family. You can't hang out with negative people and expect to live a positive life. Surround yourself with people who love you, energy that uplifts you, information that inspires you, and systems that bring out the best in you. 5. Acceleration. We all face moments of truth or hit walls when it feels like there's nothing left to give. Approach these moments not as obstacles but as opportunities, because when most people hit a wall, they turn around and they give up. But it's only after these walls where the real growth happens. What feels like a dead end is often a new beginning. This is where going a little extra will result in massive results. Remember the reason why you are doing this and go for the win. Rise to more occasions, go a little further, push yourself a little harder, last a little longer, prepare a little better, and deliver a little bit more. I remember when I first bought this book from a local bookshop, I'd actually left it on my shelf for a long while without opening it. After all, I had no idea of the compound effect and I thought, well, what's the harm in leaving it on the bookshelf for a few days? I'll read it eventually. That few days turned into a few months before I actually decided to pick it up and read it. And I've got to say, after reading the first few pages of the book, it felt like the author was throwing a jab directly at my kidney. He was calling me out. I had been compounding the wrong way. I was putting things off and moving completely in the wrong direction. What I realised is that my actions of putting things on hold, no matter whether it was in my personal life or in business, were working against the compound effect. Taking no action is still an action, and like Larry, I too remained in the same place. So, whether you want to kick a bad habit, be in better shape, improve your relationships, or even if you think things are fine just as they are, like I did, I highly recommend this book. The compound effect is everywhere and it's working whether we can see it or not. And much like the story of the tortoise and the hare, success works in the same way. One small step will mark the beginning of a great journey, but keep at it and the journey will be great. The results will be even better. And by doing exactly what the tortoise did, you too can win at the game of life by taking one small, positive step at a time.